Thank you very much, Sarah. And
You're all set.
yeah, so we will jump right in. As most of you know, we have the new tracker. We've done some preliminary testing with it, and it seems to be going well. And so, as a reminder, we will begin using it 10/1 with the start of the new year, the new fiscal year. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will go ahead and get started. And so, as I was saying, we found limitations in the SharePoint tracker, and so we came up with a new tracker in using Smartsheet in order to hopefully overcome those limitations, as well as be able to more adequately pull data for record keeping purposes. And so here is a screenshot of the tracker. I'm going to start with the instructions. Now, these instructions should be posted to the meeting, and they're just a basic rundown of the definitions on the tracker, and then some tips and tricks to use on the tracker. And so, without further ado, here is that. Now, can everybody see my screen and see the PDF?
Yes,
Okay.
could you zoom in a little bit though, Kevin?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go about there. Okay, so as you can see, the first page is just a basic title page and has the contents in it. So we will move on down. And after I've gone over this, then I will actually go through and show how we would enter the information. So some of this might not immediately make sense, but hopefully it'll come together after that example given at the end. So first one, so the actual Smartsheet tracker definitions. So in the first column here, as you can see, is labeled with a 1. You're going to have attachments, comments, and reminders section. Now, this is an uneditable field to type things in. It will have icons in it that you'd be able to click and be able to add those things. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. And so that has symbols that highlight when an attachment or comment is added or a reminder is set. The second section is going to be the participant last and first name. So, and that's going to be pulled from the submission form, which we will go into in just a moment as well. That field will be frozen in place and will follow you as you scroll right in the tracker so that you can more easily correlate what line you're on with the individual that you're entering that information. The third field is the status field. This field shows when the status of the participant in the process of connecting the participant to a provider. It will default to new referral upon a new submission being entered into the submission form. And that field is editable, will change, and documenting the status of the participant in the process. There are different options to choose from that you can change as as you progress with working with the individual. Those different statuses are active, which is contact and no referral yet. The navigator has made contact with the individual but has not completed the referral to a SNAP ENT provider. The second is an assessment is scheduled. The navigator has made contact with the individual and has scheduled an assessment, but has not referred to a provider yet. Third would be enrolled, and that's referred to a provider and in case management. So the navigator has made contact, completed the assessment, made a referral to a provider, and is currently providing ongoing case management for that individual and participant. Fourth option is going to be inactive. The navigator has concluded case management or is no longer working with the individual. In either case, you would switch that to inactive after you've put in all of your information. New referral, as we stated, that's going to be the default setting after a submission, and it's going to be the new information, the information input into the submission form, and it's a new referral. on hold, and that means that the referral is on hold and the navigator will reach out again to the individual at a later point. So each of these options is to help you track where you are at in the step referral process. When an individual is no longer participating or you are no longer working with that individual, as stated, changing them to inactive will remove the entry from Smartsheet and send them to another Smartsheet that is actually an archive Smartsheet. So we are still documenting that that individual was referred and actions taken, but they will not be on the main tracker Smartsheet, which will help make it a little bit more manageable. Instead of having hundreds of referrals to try to look through, you'll only have the active ones on there and the new ones. And so those archive ones we are saving, and we'll be able to pull information from those as needed. The fourth section is the district number, and that's again something you'd enter into the submission form. And this is required for tracking purposes and should not change. If the individual changes districts, we would ask that you submit a new entry and switch the status to inactive. So if they were in one district and working with one provider and they are going to start, or they moved or something happened and they're now in a new district and working with a new provider, we would ask that you archive the provider that was originally working with them and then enter a new submission that tracks the work from the previous provider and the new provider. The fifth portion is the date referral received, and pretty obviously that's the date you received the referral. 6 is info received from, and that has a drop-down list. We will go over that in just a moment, but it'll have things like view or support staff, just different options that you can choose from. 7 is the branch number referral received from. That's primarily for tracking purposes, and it's not required. So you don't have to enter the branch that it was referred from. But for your purposes, if you want to track which branch it came from, if that is in your local process, then we added that in so that you could use that. And number 8 is the navigator name, and that will be a selected, a list of the current navigators and individuals working there, and you would be able to switch to that individual navigator. And finally, participant info. And that participant info, you can see it is colored with a light yellow color, and that's somewhat of a buffer column between the basic case information and the participant's information. Do not enter anything into that column. Don't adjust the color, move the column, or make any other edits to that column. The purpose of the column is just a visual break between the different sections of the sheet. Okay, and then we'll move on to the participant info. As you can see here, you have the different sections here. And so the first one would be the one snap case number that is pulled from the submission form, and that is the active case which the participant is receiving SNAP. It is not a required field, but we had a request as it's useful for the navigators to have it there so that they can easily refer to it. Social Security number, SSN, that is the participant's Social Security number, and that's also pulled from the submission form, and that should be entered in the format that is listed on there. That is the 3 numbers dash 2 numbers dash 4 numbers. And that is the preferred participant search method and is required. However, if the individual does not have a Social Security number or is not available to enter into that section, we added a one ID. And again, that's only if you don't have the social, or you're unable to obtain the social, or they don't have a social. And that will be pulled over. You would use their one individual ID. Then 13 is going to be the iMatch skills, the JSID, and that is the JSID from iMatch skills. Obviously, it is not a required field and is completed after an iMatch skills profile is located or created. And so you'd be able to search for them in iMatch skills. Then 14 is the phone number. That's the preferred phone number for contact to the individual if they have one. If they do not have a phone number, you would enter NA, and that will allow you to move forward. That is a required field, as is email, and that is the preferred email address that the participant wishes to be communicated to. If the individual does not have an email, again, you can put NA in that field. 16 is if they're transitioning off of TANF. That's a yes or no drop-down question, and it is answered on the submission sheet. If the participant is transitioning off of TANF benefits and requesting STEP, then you would indicate yes. And 17, and that is the blue column, and that's another buffer column, kind of the same as the participant info column. It's just a visual break. Don't enter anything into that field. Don't change the color. Don't move it or anything of that nature. And so the next portion is the communication portion of that. This is where the navigator is really going to start documenting and entering the information into the tracker. So 18 through 20, those are attempted contact dates. And so that would be the date that you enter an attempted contact, or that you attempted to contact the individual for tracking purposes. Section 21 is transportation assistance. This is a required field as it is data collected by central office, by us. Please make sure that you answer yes or no, depending on if transportation assistance was provided to the participant to get to their first appointment with the provider. This field is orange. It will the whole cell will turn orange as a reminder when information is entered into the actual row. So you'll see that orange pop up, and that's just a reminder that that is something that we need you to complete. Do not edit the color. As soon as you enter an answer in there, either yes or no, it'll change to clear, basically no color, and you'll be able to move on. 22 are provider referrals. That's going to be a drop-down list of all the providers throughout Oregon. So you can select one or multiple providers. The navigator can choose, if necessary, if that's where the participant is going. And let's say you make a referral to one provider on one attempt, and then another provider, you would enter them both in there and then add a note as to the switch and why you are going with another provider. The date of the referral, enter the most recent date that the referral was made to a provider. So if a referral was made to a provider on September 15th, and then another referral to a different provider was made on the 30th, you would enter in the 30th. It's going to be the most recent date. If there are multiple referrals, as stated, and they're made at different times, you would always enter the most recent date a referral was made. Then you have 24, that's resources provided. You would manually enter any resources provided to the participant. That's an editable field. You can type those in there. And then you would have the next field, which is the date the resources were provided, obviously the date that they were provided. And then there's a checkbox that is needs referral to ABOD team. Check the box if the participant needs a referral to the ODHS ABOD team. Clicking this button will turn the entire row blue as a reminder that the referral is needed. And the last four columns in the tracker, 27 will be ineligible referral. You would check the box if the participant is determined to be ineligible for STEP services. Clicking the button will turn the entire row red as a reminder to enter a reason for the ineligible referral, which is the next column. And so you would enter in the reason for their ineligible. There are three primary reasons that they are ineligible for services, and that would be they are eligible for TANF jobs, they are not currently receiving SNAP, or the participant only needed resource support and not STEP. You would select the appropriate reason for the participant being ineligible. Selecting a reason will turn the entire row back to no color. It'll take away the color. And this is a required field if the ineligible referral is selected. That's why it turns red. Once the entry is completed, return this to the status field and change the status to inactive to move them off the sheet, as we stated, and send them to the archive. And then the last one is if they declined step services. You check this box if the participant declined to participate in step, and clicking the button will turn the entire row brown as a reminder to move the individual to inactive as they are no longer active. And this is after, if you need to do any other work, after you've done that work, then move them to inactive if you need to put in a note, something like that. All right, so let's move on and go through that submission form that I was talking about. The STEP Navigator Tracker submission form. We're going to go through each of these definitions. They're related to the fields that were in there, so we should be able to do that. But this is what the form will look like when you go to it. You'll have access to that as you have access to the Smartsheet. And you can get a response. You can click this button right here to send you a copy of the responses if you want. It's not required. So the first field is going to be the date referral received, as stated, the navigator name. So it's a pre-populated list of the STEP navigators that will be working with the Navigator Tracker. The SNAP ENT policy we will maintain this list. Please notify us if anything changes to this SNAP employment and training email address, and we can make those changes as needed. The info received from, and this is what we discussed earlier, you would choose from the drop-down menu the role of the individual who made the referral to STEP. The options are adults in custody reentry list, view, cold call, community partner, family coach, support staff, self-referral, or other ODH staff. And so you would select one of those as where the information was received from, where the referral was received from. And then we move on to branch number. Again, it's not a required field, but if you want to enter the branch number, you can do so. The district number, that is a required field, and you would enter the district number where the participant is located. Remember, navigators may cover multiple districts. So you want to put the district that the participant is located. Then you'll enter their last name and first name, and please use the name the participants go by. Number 7 is the OneSnap case number. Again, not a required field, but it is something that you can enter in if you so choose to. The SSN or 1. That actually will be a drop down, and it'll have two options. SSN, which is obviously the preferred method, and then the one ID. Upon selecting one of those options, it will open up another section to enter information, and you would enter in either their SSN or their one ID. The Smartsheet will separate them out and put them in the correct column depending on which one you choose. I will demonstrate this with the example late in just a little while. Again, the Social Security number is preferred. If the individual does not have a Social Security number or it is unknown, you may enter the one ID for the participant. Selecting the dropdown will open a field, as I stated, and you would use the correct format for Social Security number if applicable. JSID, you would enter in the participant's JSID. Again, not a required field, but you can enter it in if you have it right there. Then phone number, email, that you would put NA on those if they don't have it, but make sure you enter their preferred phone number and confirm that with the individual or email. Again, transitioning off of TANF, whether they're transitioning off or not. And then the final button is that submit button. Once all the required fields are completed, that button will turn blue and activate and allow you to submit. Once you've hit submit, it will then transfer that to the next line in the Smartsheet tracker, so the very bottom line. And please, before hitting that submit button, review the information for accuracy prior to selecting it. All right, are there any questions right now about anything that I've gone over, any definitions, anything of that nature? Go ahead, Michelle.
Just real quick. So say you do a typo and you hit the button anyways, and you can still change it once it's in the spreadsheet, correct?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so it's no
So it's
big,
not,
yeah.
this isn't an end all. It's not like it goes in there and it is locked. You can edit those fields in there. We just, it's a lot easier if you don't have to do that, if you enter all the information properly the first time.
Okay. Well,
All
quite
right.
often we get referrals with a wrong email address on it, things like that, and the customer will correct it when you're going through the assessment. So you do want to change those things with a better phone number and a better email address, etc.
Absolutely. You definitely can do that. Those fields are editable. All
Okay,
right. And I
I have
see
one
another.
more, but back further, but I'll look back and see.
Okay. Yeah. And if you have it. Okay. And I see one more hand up. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question. It was garbled. I wasn't able to hear that. If you can always type it into the meeting chat and we will answer it when we can. Sorry, we're still unable to hear that. Why don't, if you have a question, if you're unable to, if you don't want to ask the question in the chat, you definitely can email us at the ENT policy inbox, or you can enter it into the chat there. Our apologies for the technical problems. But we will move on. Michelle, did you have one more question or did you?
I got to go back through the instructions. I forget where
Okay.
I was made note of it mentally as I was looking at what you put on there.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. On the number 3, would you mind going back to the number 3?
On the submission form or on the here?
Yeah, like on the first one.
Okay, number 3, the status field.
So I'm confused about that because so we can put it as as a navigator, I do the assessment, I send the referral to the provider, but then it takes about like a week or two for the client to be seen. So I wouldn't be able to know whether they are actively participating. So I'm a little confused about what should I choose in there.
So once
If
you've,
I could, oh,
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. No,
Oh,
go ahead,
I
Sarah.
was going to take that. Since you had sent that referral to the provider, Eloisa, you would go ahead and mark them as enrolled because now you're going to begin your follow-up case management. So you're going to be checking in to see if that person has actually enrolled with the provider. I know enrolled is a little bit of a misnomer, but that would be the one that you would select once you've completed the assessment, sent the referral, and then you're just checking up on that person.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Precisely, exactly. All right. So moving forward, apologies, I'm scrolling. I will go down. Now we're going to go into some notes for using the ENT tracker. Now, this first note is for us, the new navigators using it. For those that are working with a participant moving from the FFY 2025 into FFY 2026, you'll have to transfer the information from from SharePoint over to the Smartsheet. So you will have to enter those individuals in, enter all pertinent information, and that way you can continue to work with them on the Smartsheet. We do ask that each navigator, that everybody start using the Smartsheet to document at beginning 10/1, and we will be working on making sure everybody gets access to the Smartsheet as soon as we can, and that'll be prior to 10/1. We will be working on that. Number 2, when a referral is received, do a search in the tracker prior to filling out the submission form. And you can do a search in Smartsheet by pulling it up, clicking Control F. That'll pull up this page right here. Don't use the replace with, because if you type something in there, it'll replace this entry with that, and we definitely don't want to do that. So you would search using their social or their one ID. And once you've done that search, if the individual does not exist in the active Smartsheet, proceed with adding the participant to the submission form. If they, however, are in the Smartsheet, and that means that they're active, they're already working with the Navigator, you would want to look up that individual, reach out to that Navigator, and then coordinate with that Navigator about who should be working with the individual moving forward. If it's, again, as I stated earlier, if it's determined that they should work with the new Navigator, then you would inactivate the previous one and then submit a new form with updated information for the Navigator that they will be working with. And so that's just to stop duplicate entries in the active tracker. Now there will be duplicate entries in the archive, but we want to leave those there because those were previous submissions, and that is part of the work tracking that we are doing. And I see a question, Gwen.
Yeah, thank you. So let's say that happens and Eloise and I are switching a client, right? It happens a lot. They move around our county. So Eloisa has to make them inactive on her caseload before I can add them into mine? Or does that timeline not matter? Just eventually they have to become inactive? Or how timely does that have to happen? Like, can I
Well,
not put them on there and work with them until she makes them inactive?
Well, what we're trying to do is prevent a bunch of duplicate entries from being created. If you do that search and you see that that participant is in there, reach out to the other Navigator and let them know, hey, the participant moved here. Now, again, and it's situational. We can't cover every situation. What we're really wanting is for you to coordinate with the individual that was working with them
Right.
and
But
coordinate
let's say
as
they're
to
out.
who's going to take it. Yeah.
Okay,
And,
let's say they're
yeah,
out on vacation. Can we go ahead and enter them as new anyways? And when they get back, they can make them inactive? Or does it timely have to happen as inactive and then new?
hmm.
Or does the order
you
not particularly matter?
well, you are able to enter in multiple referrals. Again, that's what we're trying to prevent. Um, but yeah, you would be able to do that. I would
Okay.
say if you have reached out to the Navigator and you have the new information, let's say they moved from one district to another district and now they wanted step referral closer to where they are in their own district, you could, and the Navigator that they were working with, let's say that they are out on vacation, and you know that that participant is going to be working with you. um, if you're unable to contact anybody from that district or that office that is working with that participant, um, then I would say go ahead and enter them if you know that you're going to be working with them. And then when they get back, you can coordinate and decide who's going to make them inactive. But at least the main point that we want is that that Navigator is going to get is going to it's going to be documented that they worked with the participant during this time and that you worked with them during this time. And so at one point or another, one of them should become inactive, and then they would work with the one Navigator, if that makes sense. So you can, yes, you can enter another Smartsheet entry to have a duplicate, but just I would recommend setting up a reminder to follow up with that Navigator that they were working with, so that you can coordinate and make a decision at that point as to who's going to take it, what work is documented, things like that. We just don't want a bunch of duplicate entries in the Smartsheet because that can make it very muddled. Um, so, so does that answer your question? So yes, you can do that, but as long as you make sure to follow up with the other Navigator, that's our main point. We just want you to be able to do that. And so,
Just
moving
a real
forward,
quick mention.
yeah.
I just want to do a quick time check. We only have about 15 minutes left.
Yep. And I'm coming to the end of it, and
Perfect. Thank you,
yeah,
Kevin.
we're getting there. Yeah, no, you're great. Thank you very much. Um, Number 3 is just refer to the definitions if you have any questions about those definitions, or reach out to us. Number 4 is, and this is really important, navigators, you can use the comment, the attachment, and the reminder fields in the Smartsheet. Those are great tools to use. They do not transfer to one. You still will need to enter case notes into one, and the assessment must be loaded into the one electronic case file. Putting them into the Smartsheet does not replace putting them into one. You are still going to have to put them into one. All right, moving forward, you are able to set up a personalized filter, and I'll show you that. You can enter in based upon your Navigator name. There's already pre-populated filters for the district, so if an individual comes through and they don't have a name, or you don't have, or it's missing a Navigator, you can look in the actual district and they will show up there, and then assign a Navigator to it. But I will show you how to create a your own personalized filter. The good thing about that filter is it's only going to show up on your version of Smartsheet. It's not going to be for everybody, so we're not going to have 100 different filters in there. It'll just be on your sheet to search for that, which is a great thing that you can do. And for time purposes, I'm moving along. The next section is going to be the comments. I can actually show you that. There will be a box that'll pop up. You can click that box, and then you can add comments. The comments are time stamped, so it'll date and time stamped, so that you'll be able to add any comments that you're needing to add. Like if they move from one case to another, you can put move from this case to that case, or if they were referred to one provider and then a second referral was made to another provider, you can enter a note about that. Any of those notes that you normally would track in SharePoint to just document what you're doing, you can put those into that in the comments field. It's called conversations. And then the attachments, if necessary, you can always add an attachment using the little paperclip icon. I will show you that. You can drag and drop the document into the file, or you can click upload. I don't know that you would necessarily need to do that very much, but the option is there if necessary. And then you have reminders, and these are very useful. You can set a reminder, set a date, you can put a message in there, and as the screenshot I put in to send me a reminder on Friday the 19th for that row. So you'll receive an email that'll say, hey, you have something that you need to pay attention to on row 58. You can go back to it and say, oh, I'm supposed to follow up with a call at 10 a.m. And you can also put that in a reminder message too. And so that is the end of the actual training document, the definitions. So let's go through and I'll show you how the tracker works. We'll do a very quick submission and go from there. So we'll start with the submission. Let's say we've done a find. So the find feature is here. We typed in a social, nothing came up. Great. But let's say we did type a social, or pardon me, and it did come up. I'll show you what it looks like. You hit next, and it'll actually highlight and take you to that one. So that's where you would say, oh, they are already in the tracker. And then you can take those actions. Let's say that they are not in the tracker anymore, or they're not found in there, then you would just fill this out. So we received the referral today, Navigator name, Janet, I'm sorry, I'm just picking one. We'll take care of this. Let's say it came from a view, branch received from, let's say we don't need that information, so we'll move forward. Let's say they're part of D5, and we'll say Smith, John. We won't enter the one case number. Let's say that they have a social. Well, we would click social security number preferred, and we can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. JSID, if they have it, you can enter that in there. I'm not, for time purposes, I'm not going to enter that. Phone number, let's say it's 503 555, or pardon me, 555 5555. Email jsmith@mail. And let's say they're not transitioning off of TANF. After doing that, I can hit submit, and you'll get the success form. Then you can actually go into the tracker, and it will just say ENT tracker. It won't be the test one. And let's see, where did it enter? Oh, here it is. Okay. Something must be entered in up there. So we see John Smith, new referral, and you can shift these over if you need to see. We've just shrunk them down because we can see. But as you can see, John Smith is right here, and we have his participant information. We have the attempted contact date. Remember, transportation assistance is highlighted orange. So let's say we're not going to. See how it turns it yellow. Referral to ABOT team has a checkbox. You can click that. It'll turn it blue to remind you that this individual needs a referral to ABOT. Let's say that it's an ineligible. Turns it red until we put in that reason. Then we can remove that. And let's say they declined, it'll turn it brown. And so that way you can be reminded to go over and make them inactive. And again, that'll remove them from the sheet. And so that is the basics of that. Let me go over the notes real quick. As stated before, you have the attachment. If you click that button right there, it'll open up here. You can drag and drop, or you can browse. And then when you're done with the attachment, you click attach to that row, and it will follow that row. If you click the note, we can say, we can put in a note for John to call and update. Okay. And you enter that in, and as you can see, it enters that note in there, and it turns highlighted blue to show that notes were entered into that section. And then there is another field in there called add a proof. You don't need to use that, not necessary. Then let's set a reminder. Let's say I need a reminder to call John Smith tomorrow. Call at 9 a.m. For contact. Then I would put save, and it'll put a reminder in there, and then I will actually get an email reminding me to call them prior to that. So I would get a reminder for that, and you can set it for any date in the future, and that's your reminder. And so that is going to be the basics of it. Again, as you inactivate things, they will archive. Are there any final questions? I think we are running out of time. If you do have any questions, please reach out to the Snap ENT email address, and we'll be able to answer those. My apologies for running short on time. I do see. Okay, yeah, Sarah, perfect. And so, yeah, send them to the ENT box. And with that, we will conclude this brief training. If you have any questions, please pop us up. Thank you very much for your time. And remember, we'll start using it on 10.1. So look for that invite to add the tracker in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Patty, can you stop the recording, please?